Meant to be. It was Saturday morning, wind blew softly through her hair. She was enjoying a frappuccino at a cafe, yet she was losing her mind as she knew there was a room full of chaos inside of her. It was like a broken compass and she wedged there, screaming for help to save her. She is still fighting against the darkness that is raging inside her soul. She was facing the mad world all alone. She was asking for happiness in her heart, or at least someone for whom she belonged. She is already weary with drama in her life for mocking her continuously. Tears fell down slowly, her hands started shaking until she heard someone trying to talk to her. "Excuse me, may I sit here? There are no more chairs left so, hey, are you okay?" She could not hold the hurricane inside her, thus she let them out. "You can sit here." "Thanks. Here is a muffin for you. It is tasty and it is my favorite. I hope it will make you feel better." "No, thanks. It is okay. You do not have to eat right now." She was looking at a stranger in front of her. He looked so fine as he enjoyed his meal. She really wanted to feel like that, of freedom. She wanted to feel alive. "Are you French?" She asked him out of the blue, and it made him smile for a second. "Do I look like French?" "No, not really. I just recognized your accent." "Well, I'm Irish actually. I moved out to Brussels when I was 15 years old, Daddy's business, you know? And he passed away when I was 17 years old, so I went home to Cork, living with my grandma. But then, I think my dad missed her. I lived on my own until I met this kind French old man, Mr. Guillaume, and he taught me about painting when he saw my art. He took me to Strasbourg. I was 19 years old at that time and I did not have anybody. I thought I made the wrong decision when I wanted to go with him." He freezed for a moment. "Oh my God. Sorry I told you about all of my freaking life. What is wrong with me?" "Sorry. No. No, that is fine. Sounds like you have such a marvelous life. Tell me more about it. It relaxes my mind hearing your story." He saw the tears stop falling from her eyes, it turned into such beautiful emerald eyes, and she just looked so bright, like an art. He caught a breath when he stared at her eyes, it was full of misery and darkness, yet there was still a slight light in there. Something on his mind told she was an old soul from the Renaissance era, as he could see from the beauty she emitted. "Okay. So, I lived in Strasbourg for 4 years. I learned so many things with Mr. Guillaume. He was just like my father. I love the way he drew murals. He knew how to express emotions well. Since then, I have tried to express the hidden feeling that has been untold by words. It always makes me feel better." Mr. Guillaume was living on his own. "So, he felt so happy when I was with him, he said that I was like his son. I bet he misses you right now." She unconsciously ate a muffin that he gave her. "Yeah, I guess so. I told him that I wanted to try something new yet, I promised him I would come to visit him as often as possible." "How come? You are in Chicago right now. It will cost a lot. I can sell my painting to the rich." "How much does each painting cost so you can be that sure?" "More than $1 million. Wow. You are a billionaire." "No, I am just a painter." "How is the muffin, by the way?" He pointed at her half muffin and smiled. One thing she could not avoid was looking at the way he smiled with dimples popped up on his cheeks. She thought for a moment that he was the realist in Renaissance art. It was. Good. Thanks. So, what's your name?" "Isabelle." Such a beautiful name. Are you French? How did you know? Isabelle is a French name, and it is Mr. Guillaume's dead wife's name. Oh. Did not expect that. What is your name? Luke. Wait. I feel it sounds familiar. Yes, of course it is. A common Irish name. Well. How long you have been in France? I have been living in France since I was a kid. I grew up in Deauville with my aunt since my parents died. I became dreary after they were gone, and it was getting worse day by day, so my aunt took me to the orphanage. One day, a married couple adopted me when I was 8 years old. I was happy because I missed my parents so badly. But I was unlucky, they treated me like a slave. Her husband raped me several times. They told me that I am broken, and it is better off if I am not in this world. He could not say a word as he thought she was living in a very difficult moment. However, he also thought that she was a very brave and strong woman. Such a miserable life, right? I am always questioning about happiness, life, and freedom. Because I always feel in a cage. One day, I sneaked out when they were asleep, and I stole their money to move far away from them. So, here I am in Chicago. How old are you? And are you working? I am 22 and I am a waitress. He changed her position next to her, grabbed her hands, and hugged her tightly. He knew she needed a cure. She was fragile and feeble, she was fighting against her darkness all alone. He imagined how crazy life drove her, yet she was still standing and living her life. Hey, Isabel. I want to let you know that you are a precious human being. I know how hard your life was back then, I can capture it vividly in my mind, and you are so amazing. I know I just met you, but I am so proud of you. You are worth it. Keep that in mind. She felt something familiar when his arms were around her. Thank you so much, Luke. By the way, have we ever met before? No, we just met a couple hours ago. What is your full name and where were you born, if I may ask? Luke Owen Burke and I were born in Cork. Why? Nothing, I felt like I knew you. I am Isabel Annette Durand, familiar with that? No. Look, Isabel. I know you were living in France. However, I never had a friend named Isabel Durand. Besides, you were living in Deauville while I was living in Strasbourg. Maybe I am just quite like someone you used to know. Luke, I think I have to go now. Can we meet again tomorrow, please? Yeah, sure, can I get your number? So, if an unpredictable thing occurs I can text you and reschedule our meeting. She then gave him her number and went home as soon as possible. She was grabbing her computer and searching for the relation between the past and the future, until she stopped in an article about reincarnation. She scrolled down till she found a site which provided information to check the reincarnation test. Then she wrote her full name and his name, also the birthplace. As the result came up, she could not believe what she saw. It showed a woman named Isabelle Eleanor Beausoleil who had been living during World War II, and she had a husband who was a French soldier, Edward Louis Guillaume. Isabelle died because of the explosion around the factory where she worked. It made Edward grieving deeply as Isabelle and her baby were killed in that explosion. She could not sleep that night, thinking about her name, and Luke was there, and it showed a suitability. It started driving her insane, thus, she called Luke to go to the cafe they met in the morning. She started biting her nails and her body started trembling. She saw him across the street, wearing a gray hoodie with skinny jeans. She felt calm seeing him, it gave her peace by seeing him. What is wrong, Isabel? Are you okay? He was out of breath thinking about something bad happening to her. Luke, I think it makes sense now why I feel like I know you. It may sound crazy, but Hold on. You called me for this nonsense talk? Gosh. We have talked about this. It is midnight and I was in a rush when you called me. I thought you were in a terrible situation. But, this? Really? And you know what? I have a morning flight to Strasbourg this morning. I was about to text you. Sommes nous senses être? An atmosphere now changed as Luke answered with a high tone and his charming smile. Nous avons toujours voulu être, mon amour. Just like a flash, they were becoming Isabel and Edward, a couple who lived during World War II. The surrounding became their old house and they stood face to face. Isabel cried as she finally could see how perfect her husband was in front of her. For a moment, they both felt how to be alive again. Tu me manques tellement, Eddie. Je sais. To me Mongsaucy, Belle. Slowly, the vision faded. Isabel and Luke went back to themselves again, yet they did not remember what was happening between them, yet they felt free. Hey, Isabel. Want to go to Strasbourg? With me? I want to introduce you to Mr. Guillaume. He started to break the silence by showing her tickets to Strasbourg. Yeah, I would love to. They finally made their first trip to France. It was raining there, the season made the atmosphere much better. Luke stopped a taxi and they both went to the cemetery. What are we doing here? I told you that I wanted to introduce you to Mr. Guillaume, right? So? Here we are. She saw the tombstone of Edward Louis Guillaume. She fell silent for a moment. She saw Luke in grief, she felt lost in him. Her hands moved on their own to hug Luke like the first time he hugged her tightly. She stroked his head gently. At that moment, they felt they were home to each other. You know, the last time he told me was, Luke, you are going to be a great person. You will meet your soulmate and live happily ever after. I am so proud of you, Luke. I guess I have met my soulmate, Mr. Guillaume. She makes me feel like I am home. She is beautiful, strong, amazing, and perfect. Her name is Isabelle Annette Durand. I am going to marry her and you will be the witness, all right? He started to turn around and crouched right in front of Isabelle with a ring he took out of his trouser pocket. Isabelle, I know we just met, but I was catching feelings since I saw your beautiful emerald eyes. Since then, you fulfill the emptiness in my soul and I feel the warmth when I am around you. I will protect you, and I will always make you happy, and I think, we just meant to be. You are not alone right now, you have me as your protector for good. Isabelle, will you marry me? Isabelle was out of words, and for the first time in her life, she finally could feel freedom. She was crying yet she was so happy. She never thought that day would come to her as she took the ring and said yes.